So you're interested in Michael Urie's career, this shift he's making, from those quick-witted, snarky roles to something a bit meatier.
Yeah, it's interesting.
Well, we've been taking a deep dive into this recent interview about his role on Shrinking on Apple TV,
Right.
and it's got us thinking about how he's really switching things up.
Yeah, and he brings up prestige television when he's talking about shrinking. It does seem like he's aiming for something and a new level of recognition. It's not just about being on a popular show. It's working with really great writers, really great directors, more complex characters, projects that get that critical acclaim. Sounds like Urie's ready for that.
It seems like it, right? And he's not losing that comedic edge either. He's still bringing the funny, but there's this added depth to what he's doing in Shrinking.
Absolutely. And I mean, he's even juggling this demanding TV role with a starring role on Broadway in Once Upon a Mattress. Talk about
Wow.
dedication.
That's classic Urie, right? Stage and screen. But speaking of his career, the interview points out a pattern we've seen in his past roles. I mean, he often plays that snarky gay friend, the one who helps the main character kind of evolve.
Right.
It's familiar, but it seems like Shrinking kind of breaks that mold, doesn't it?
It does. I mean,
Yeah,
his character, Brian, yeah, he's still bringing in those laughs, but his storyline in season 2, it goes into some new territory, especially in his friendship with Jason Segel's character, Jimmy. You really see them explore the complexities of male friendship, and it's definitely not your typical bros being bros scenario.
Yeah, their friendship, it's a roller coaster this season.
Oh, yeah.
Betrayals, testing the limits of their bond. I think it's interesting how Shrinking tackles these very real ways that friendships can change, even struggle, as we all get a little older.
And it doesn't shy away from showing how that really plays out between a straight man and a gay man whose friendship goes all the way back to college. Like, there's a realness to it that I think resonates with the audience.
Oh, for sure. Authentic, relatable. And Urie actually connects this on-screen dynamic with his own experiences coming out to his friends.
Yeah.
He talks about how those relationships kind of had to adapt and how even with that initial, woo, life is great, post coming out feeling, there are still bumps in the road.
Absolutely.
Yeah, there's still growth to be had.
It's not this magical finish line.
Yeah.
It takes work from everybody to kind of navigate those changes successfully.
It does. It does. And there's this great anecdote in the interview that really highlights those subtle ways friendships can drift. Remember that consultant conundrum?
Oh, yes.
Brian realizes that Jimmy has no idea what his husband does for a living.
I know. It really struck a chord with me because it's such a small detail, but it speaks volumes, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Like how easily we can lose track of the details of our friends' lives, even when we care deeply.
Right.
It's a good reminder to be present and be genuinely interested in each other's lives.
Yeah. It's a wake-up call for sure, but it makes you think about how even with good intentions, communication can falter in those long-term friendships. We get caught up and we sometimes forget to check in, really listen.
I think a lot of people can relate to that regardless of, sexual orientation, relationship status. It's a universal thing, maintaining that closeness, that connection.
Absolutely. But going back to Urie's career, it's interesting to see him playing Brian, who's, ultimately a good guy, a nice guy.
He is.
This feels like a departure from his usual sort of larger-than-life persona, doesn't it?
Right. And this shift to playing a more grounded, nice guy character, it really coincides with a bigger trend we're seeing in LGBTQ plus representation.
It does. We're moving away from those stereotypical, sassy, or even mean gay characters, and we're seeing these well-rounded, relatable portrayals. And Urie seems very aware of this shift, too.
Yeah, he is.
He mentions a talk with a talent manager friend who, jokingly, told him that he needs to play an evil character next. It made Urie think about how, especially for gay actors, playing the mean character is almost expected.
Right.
I'd love to hear more about his reaction to that evil character suggestion. What was it about that struck a chord with him?
I think for him, it was like a realization, He's reached a point where he can choose roles that offer him more depth, more nuance.
Mm-hmm.
He doesn't have to be pigeonholed into playing that stereotypical mean gay character anymore.
Right.
With Shrinking doing so well and people responding so positively to Brian, he has the freedom to explore other sides of himself, other sides of his acting.
So he's embracing this nice guy era, but does that mean he's done with those sharp-witted, maybe even slightly villainous characters?
Hard to say, but it seems like he's interested in challenging himself. Maybe he'll find that role that lets him blend those comedic and dramatic elements, a character that's both endearing and, well, a little bit wicked.
Oh, the possibilities. But speaking of those comedic elements, there's that anecdote in the interview about his character's entrance in Shrinking.
Oh, yeah,
He
yeah.
literally announces himself with a ba-ba-bum, like he's entering a Broadway stage.
It's such a small detail,
Yeah,
but it's so telling, isn't it?
right.
That blend of flamboyance, but also genuine warmth. And it really speaks to Urie's own background, his ability to bring that bigger-than-life energy to the screen.
It's those little touches that really make a character memorable. And it does feel symbolic, don't you think? Like Urie himself is making this grand entrance into a new stage of his career.
Absolutely. It's not just about playing a nicer character. It's about embracing roles with more depth, more layers, more emotional range. And he's doing it all alongside some real heavy hitters in the industry,
Ah,
which brings us back to prestige television.
right. Like he's proving he can handle the dramatic weight, the emotional depth, and still deliver those comedic moments that people love.
Exactly. He's challenging these preconceived notions of what it means to be a successful actor.
Yeah.
He's not afraid to be vulnerable, to show a different side of himself. And I think that really resonates with audiences. We connect with actors who are willing to be real to show their humanity.
Absolutely. So it sounds like Michael Urie is at this really interesting point in his career. He's challenging himself with more complex roles, pushing boundaries, redefining what it means to be, well, a multifaceted actor. It'll be fascinating to see where he goes from here.
I agree. Will he stick with these more dramatic roles, or will he totally surprise us with something we'd never expect? That's the beauty of it all, isn't it?
Right.
The possibilities are endless.
It definitely keeps us guessing, and that's a real testament to his talent, his willingness to evolve. Beyond his own choices, though, Urie's trajectory also says something about a larger shift happening in Hollywood, doesn't it? Like the industry's finally ready to embrace more nuanced, more authentic portrayals of LGBTQ plus characters.
I think you're right. We're moving beyond those one-dimensional stereotypes, and we're starting to see LGBTQ plus characters portrayed with the same depth, the same complexity, the same humanity as their straight counterparts. And that's
Yeah.
huge.
It is. It is huge. It means we get to see more interesting stories, stories that actually reflect the lives, the real lived experiences of LGBTQ plus individuals. And it opens up more opportunities for actors like Urie to really showcase their full range.
And that's what's so exciting about this moment in television, in film. We're seeing more diverse voices, more inclusive storytelling. We're seeing actors given the chance to break free from those old stereotypes and really embody characters that resonate.
Absolutely. So it's not just about Michael Urie's journey, it's about this larger cultural shift towards greater representation, more inclusivity.
Exactly. And while there's always more work to be done, it's encouraging to see actors like Urie using their platform to challenge expectations and pave the way for a more inclusive entertainment industry.
It really is. It's a pivotal time. And as we watch Michael Urie sort of step into this next chapter, taking on these roles that are more complex, more layered, it makes you wonder, what kind of stories does he want to tell?
That's the exciting part. We get to see,
I know.
will he go for those stories that challenge, what we think, or highlight voices we don't hear enough? Or maybe he'll take on some historical figure, but with a totally fresh take.
He's definitely got the range. And with people recognizing his dramatic chops now, maybe we'll see him leading more, really commanding the screen.
I think he's ready. He's always had that charisma, that presence, but now it's like he's combined that with this real depth, this vulnerability, and it makes his work even more captivating.
It's a powerful combination. And as much as I'm loving this whole nice guy phase of his, I can't help but think, remember that comment from his talent manager friend about playing an evil character? Maybe that planted a seed. Maybe we haven't seen the last of that mischievous side just yet.
Ooh, that would be interesting. To see him in a role that lets him be both the charm and the bite, the heart and the edge. Walking that line, that would be something to see.
That's what makes Michael Urie so compelling to watch. He keeps us guessing, keeps us hooked, and he always entertains. So whether he's bringing the laughs as that witty best friend or he's diving deep into something more dramatic, one thing's for sure we'll be watching, excited to see what he does next.
And, maybe, just maybe, he'll surprise us by doing both, proving he can be just as captivating as the good guy or as the villain. That would be incredible, a true testament to his range.
Wouldn't it? Proof that the most interesting characters, the most fulfilling careers, those embrace the whole spectrum. Well, thanks for joining us for this deep dive. I have a feeling you'll never watch a Michael Urie performance the same way again.